Hello today, everyone. Today I wanted to do something a bit differently with my total drama videos. It takes a long time to edit the my ways. It takes like a day to actually put everything together and another day to edit it. On that, the music is the easiest part, obviously, to sync everything and creating obviously the story is one part. But I wanted to do something differently today, obviously to speed it up, but I can also go more into depth with these eliminations more and talk about what could be happening in the game. Today is something simple. It's not on my way. It's a new what if that is thought of. Some simple, some easy. What if the entirety of Gen 1, including Sierra and Alejandro, were in not in Island, but what if Season 4, Revenge of the Island, had the original cast? And what I mean by this is they just went back to the island. They're gonna have the same challenges. It's a whole remake. It's a reunion kind of, but it's only been said a year. They've done 3 seasons. They're experienced. They know each other. They know the game. They know everything. So this is going to make things, in my opinion, more interesting because not only because Sierra and Alejandro are here, but since in Not So Happy Campers, DJ and Courtney don't jump. I think they would now because they are way more experienced and they have done way more challenging things than just this, especially Courtney. So I think they would jump. And I also think Beth would not still jump. I don't think she's done anything more challenging than this. I know she went to the finale in action, but she didn't do anything that extraordinary in action. Like in the finale, she only answered all the questions right, catching up to Duncan. I guess her best feat was besting Heather in tennis, or sorry, badminton. Um, but I just don't think there was much by Beth, especially in the team challenges, and I don't think she'll jump. So with that, I think the Killer Bass actually win the first challenge, just solely because they have the advantage. Because of this, I do think, obviously, Heather and Alejandro are the biggest targets here. And I do think they're going to know that. So they're going to quickly need to get people on their side. So Alejandro can definitely get Katie. And I do think he can get Heather, not Heather, Lindsay, on his side. Heather, I do think, can convince Cody not to vote for her because they were good in the World Tour. And I honestly do think maybe they could get Owen's vote, maybe Justin's, because Alejandro and him might have a lot of stuff in common because of their good looks. So I do think he can get his vote. And I think all of these people would vote off Beth just solely because she lost the challenge. The big sleep is, I don't think it's any different. Um, I do think there are some things now. Duncan is going to want to be the team, like he wants to control the vote. So I think he's going to easily get Ezekiel. Maybe Tyler. Tyler is questionable. I think he can get Eva. This is after World Tour, so Courtney is definitely a no. Sierra's a no. Jeff and DJ is a yes. He can get Jeff and DJ. So this is 5. I do think he can get Tyler. I do think with the help of Jeff and DJ, he can get Tyler. So Courtney, I do think can get Izzy and Sadie on her side. She's not. She can get Sierra. She can get Sierra. They were teamed up, and I know they were teamed up against Gwen. but they were still together on that. I do think they can team up together. Bridget and Harold are the only ones not with anyone, but I don't think they're the targets for these two groups. Not only that, it's just like I don't think they would have a reason to vote off Harold or Bridget. Bridget is a likable person. Harold is pretty decent in challenges, actually, especially the ones coming up. So I do think these guys are gonna vote off someone that is bad at challenges, a weak link, because Duncan knows he doesn't need to worry about Courtney, because Courtney, she's not mad at Duncan anymore, or obviously she's mad at Duncan, but not as mad where she's wanting to gun for him, and same with Duncan. Duncan knows that. They are probably gonna get team players. They want to win. They want to go on a winning streak so they can easily control the merge. So I do think that out of the weakest links on this team, Ezekiel, Sadie, and Harold, not Harold, Harold's pretty, and Tyler are the weakest links. Just because Ezekiel is that loss and Tyler is Tyler and Sadie is Sadie, I do think Sadie's gone here. Like, just because of the fact that she doesn't have anything going for her. Just want to make this known. In this time, Chris did not accept the swap. He did not let them swap. That was already done. Been there, done that. No swaps. That's what's making this more interesting. I feel like it would make the character shine more, not relying on each other. Dodgebrawl. Okay. This is very interesting because teams of 5 go in. The best team of 5 I can think of for this team is Duncan, Eva, Courtney, Sierra, and I want to say Harold, but he's really bad at getting people out, so I'm going to say DJ. The best team for the Screaming Gophers would definitely be Alejandro, Owen, Cody, Lashana, not Lindsay, not Noah, not Katie. Even though Katie did pretty good in the Dodgebrawl, not Gwen. She's tired from the big sleep. Justin, Trent, or Heather. I would say Heather. Out of these two, I think they can target Alejandro first, get him out of the competition. Now, the biggest threat is, I feel like the first one to get out of here would be Courtney, then DJ. I think Heather's gone next. Out of these 3, I do think Cody's out next. Eva's probably going to shot him. I think Sierra's out. I think she's going to get distracted by Cody and go on their side to see if he's okay and get out herself. Out of these 2, I do think that Lashana and Owen will target Duncan, but I think Duncan, since it's only 2, I think he could dodge both of them. Getting out Lashana, then getting out Owen, getting them the first point. I do think this will repeat, but let's see the second people, shall we? The next people going in are going to be Trent, Justin, Gwen, Katie, and Noah. And out of these, I think the ones going in should be Izzy, Tyler, Jeff, Bridget, and Alejandro. Not Alejandro, Harold. I do think this would be a wash. Noah's obviously not good. Gwen's tired. Tyler's going to be the first one getting out. It's Tyler. He's going to throw in like random directions. Harold can dodge. Izzy's Izzy. Jeff, I think, is pretty okay at this. Bridget, I feel like, would get out next. Then Lindsay's not in this one. She's sitting out. Katie would get out next. 2v3. I think Jeff's getting out next. Then Trent. Then Justin. Harold stalled with it while Izzy brawled. See what I did there? I do think they're winning this comp. I do think they're winning this challenge still. Just way less close than what it used to be. To make it interesting, I would say the last ones going in would be Duncan, Ezekiel, Eva, Sierra, and Courtney. just so Ezekiel can get it. Same with this one. It would be their strongest team. Alejandro, Cody, Owen, Lashana, and Lindsay. But I do think they would get out. So Alejandro would definitely, again, get Katie on his side. I also do think he can get Lindsay on his side. Heather, again, she can get Cody. Not Owen this time. I don't think she can get. Gwen has Lashana, Trent, and Noah would join them with Owen. And these two are not allies anymore. You know them. They can gun at each other for the first one. So I think these guys would mostly be looking for who did bad in the challenge, while these two are gunning for each other. So I think all these three would vote for Heather. These two would vote for Alejandro. But who would these 5 vote for? I know Justin, she could probably get to Heather's side or Alejandro's side, making it 4. But I do think these 5 would vote out someone who did bad in the challenge, or someone they just don't see being useful. And that is, sadly, Justin. He just doesn't have anything about him that they don't have already. Like, he's not, like, the most physically gifted. He's not top 3 on physically gifted. He's pretty dumb. Like, he can't manipulate anyone because Alejandro just does what he does better. It's just, I don't think he's fit for this competition. Especially, I feel like he would be sitting in the back, like, not trying to get, he wouldn't be helping. He wouldn't be trying to risk trying to get himself hurt. So that's why he survived so long in the challenge, because he was just sitting in the back. He wasn't trying to get eliminated because he doesn't want his beautiful face to get injured. Sadly, that would cost him to get eliminated because he's not going to get one out. He's just getting jumped. Not quite famous. I do think the people going up this one would be Courtney with her violin, DJ with his ribbon dance, and since no one gets injured, I do think they forget Harold can beatbox, so it would be Jeff. Going out for the Screaming Gophers, Heather, ballerina dance, Trent, and I do think Alejandro would also go up. I think he would do what Justin did better, but just way better, beating out Jeff. As these two dancers, it was seen that Heather can actually dance, and she's obviously not going to read Gwen's diary because Gwen doesn't have her diary anymore. Or she could still have her diary, but it's not shown in season 2 or 3, so I doubt it. I think she beats out DJ, and I think Trent beats out Courtney. I think this challenge is just a wash in general. Honestly, this is where it gets tough, because they know this alliance right here. They make a guys alliance with only these 4, because Duncan knows from previous seasons, season 3 and 1, he can't trust Tyler. Tyler is a liability. He can't keep secrets, especially with alliances and major secrets like him and Gwen. Duncan and Gwen are still dating, because they were still dating in All Stars, and this takes place in season 4. So they are still dating. These two are still together. So, yeah, same with Jeff and Bridget. So they are just an automatic pair. Izzy and Owen are still together. Cody and Sierra, yeah. Alejandro is technically flirting, and they're like in will they, won't they type situation right now. Lindsay's with Tyler, obviously. Something's going around over here, which is a maybe. But I do think, just because she's so much of a threat, I do think Duncan could convince Courtney to get her Tiny Girls Alliance. She was friends with Bridget, so I do think she could be friends with Bridget again. I do think Eva can get out here, just because she's just such a massive threat, where they would just want to eliminate her. Because we see in new seasons that she's not as bad as she used to be, but she still has anger issues, but not towards her teammates anymore. It's to other people that just go out of her way to annoy her. The Sucky Outdoors. This is a pretty big one. Who do we think would get last? Because The Killer Bass don't have Sadie and Katie to get lost, and Katie's not going to go around with Sadie getting lost anymore, too. I do think, if we're going off that technicality, even though obviously they're not going to dress up as a bear, she's not going to do that again. And even if she did, it didn't change anything. They still woke up on the ground. I do think the Killer Bass are winning, just like the original. Or not just like the original, because they don't have Katie and Sadie anymore on their team, so they would win because they have everyone on across the finish line, causing the Screaming Gophers to lose. I do think that obviously they would want challenge like weaklings out because this is a back and forth of doom right now. This is not going great. Like they can all agree that they need someone that's not going to challenge us outright like now. And I do think that would be Katie. Sadly, like not very dramatic campfire ceremony, but like it just needs to be done. She's not focused on challenges since Sadie's been out, and it's just been a lot to deal with. As we know, they cry when they're away and they complain, whine. It's a lot, and it was getting annoying. They couldn't deal with it anymore, and they got a pretty strong lineup now. Phobia Factor. This is an interesting one because what would Sierra and Alejandro's fear be? I think that Sierra's fear is having Cody away for so long. So her challenge would be to stay away from Cody for a certain amount of time. For Alejandro, I think his fear would be standing up to Jose, just like in All Stars, which I think he can do. So the one succeeding for the Killer Bass is Duncan, DJ, Jeff, Ezekiel. I think he can survive his fear. His fear is probably being left out, and he's already left out of everything. But I think he could stay alone for everything or be left out for a while. I think he can win. Tyler did his challenge in the original, which I don't know why they didn't give him the point. The challenge was to stay in the chicken coop. He stayed in the chicken coop. I don't know why they didn't give him the point, but I'm giving the point here because I think that was stupid that they didn't give him the point in the original. Izzy flew in the plane. I think she fails like usual. We see in All Stars, she's still terrified of green jelly. Harold obviously gonna fight the ninjas. She got scared by Cody. I know he still can't defuse a bomb. And Sierra, she's not staying away from Cody. Let's be real. I do think for the Screaming Gophers, Alejandro would succeed, Heather would succeed, Gwen would succeed, Trent would succeed, Cody would fail, Lashana will not succeed because she did not fight the spider. She ran from the spider. Noah's fear. It's a tricky one. I'll just say like a serial killer, which I don't think he can succeed from. Owen. Owen's fear was flying. He succeeded. Lindsay succeeded. So, ooh. So now we got a little tie right here. I do think if it came down to it, Lashana can get over her fear. I do think Lashana can get over it, causing the Killer Bass to lose. So now they are looking very mad at Courtney, Harold, Bridget, and Sierra. I do think this vote would be almost unanimous. She's getting tired of her actions. They know they don't want her near the alliance of 4. It's just, I don't think they would vote Sierra off yet. I think it would be obvious just to vote off Harold. It's just he doesn't have any allies on his team. He's always been a lone wolf type of guy. Even though it was never successful, he's never actually been in an alliance before, apart from Duncan and Lashana, and that alliance only lasted like an episode. Because even though they had the alliance, Duncan still helped vote off Lashana in action, and his allies obviously are only like Lashana, maybe Cody, Cody, Justin, and Trent because of their band, but Justin's eliminated and Trent and Cody are on the other team. So all of his like allies are on the other team. He has no one to help him, and it's just Duncan already dislikes him. It's just a lot. Up the creek, I do think that Harold not burning the ores anymore, they would still have an easier time. I think Duncan would go with DJ, Jeff would go with Bridget, Izzy would go with Ezekiel, Courtney would go with Sierra, and I think Tyler could squeeze in with DJ and Duncan. Actually, he could go with Izzy and Ezekiel. There's definitely room on that boat. Okay, Screaming Gophers. Alejandro is going to go with. Who would he want to go with? I think he would want to go with Owen, just for the sole purpose of getting him on his side, because he's going to be miserable. He is not going to like that at all, because he hates Owen. Owen is, I would say it so far, Owen is his least favorite person in the entire show. I think Heather would go with Cody, just so she can make sure he's completely on her side. Gwen, I think, would go with Lashana, and Trent would go with these two. Actually, I'm going to switch things up. I think he would go with Lindsay, and these would be the trio going together. Because I don't think Noah would let Owen go with Alejandro. I do think the Killer Bass would win this. They win it in the original, and that's only because I know that's only because DJ got the board of ores, but that's because they won like pretty good after that. But not only did Izzy have that bomb that starts that fire hella quick, they would have their ores keeping the fire alive. Harold wouldn't throw the ores in, and even if that did happen, DJ would do the same thing, pushing the team to victory. I do think this team would lose. Again, with this big alliance, this alliance right now is controlling the vote. So I do think that, again, they're still voting off just challenge, like wimps that aren't helping in challenges. Sadly, I do think, even though they hate these two, I don't think they're leaving. I think Alejandro can convince Heather and Lindsay to do this, just because solely they know they can get out. I think Alejandro can convince Trent, just because they haven't been in games together. He doesn't know Trent's game. He's watched Total Drama World Tour, but he's never experienced what it feels like to be with Alejandro. I think Heather can convince Noah, because it would be reasonable to get them out. And Noah can convince Lindsay. So now they have the vote. And Noah can convince Owen, making it even stronger. I do think Cody would get out of here, sadly, just because of him not being strong at all. Just in the original Paintball Deer Hunt, he was just, everyone hated Heather, but they put that aside. Especially Lashana, and like, she hates Heather, but she voted for Cody just because he wasn't strong in competitions. He was just the weakest link. It's just like he wasn't strong of a competitor at all. Paintball Deer Hunt. So I'm going to put the originals in the hunters. So Jeff, Bridget, and Harold's not here, so we're going to put one of these two as hunters, and I do think Tyler would be a hunter. Just like in the original, Owen is a hunter. Beth isn't here to be a hunter. LaShawn is a hunter. So I'm going to say, let's say Noah's a hunter, because he wasn't here last time. I do think that they're not going to argue anymore, because Beth isn't here to start that argument, and they're going to keep moving. The Killer Bass only found them because they were arguing. Plus, Killer Bass didn't find anyone for the entire time, and I doubt Tyler can find someone. So I do think the Screaming Gophers would win this competition, unlike the original season. So the Killer Bass will be sending someone home. And this is, I think, an easy vote, to be honest. The Guys Alliance is still going out strong. They can get Bridget on that vote. They could definitely get Tyler on that vote. And I do think Sierra would be eliminated. Just because she's not focused on the competition. She's always trying to look for Cody. And she's now worried about Cody because he's eliminated and she's all depressed and sad. And we already have seen what she's like when, in All-Stars, when she saw Cameron was Cody, what she's like when she's away. It's bad. It's worse than Katie and Sadie. So I do think because of that, they will be eliminated. Just because of the fact that, again, she's just obsessed. It got to the point where she's not useful with her strength. She's naturally strong, but it's just not useful anymore when she's doing all this. And yeah, it's just it's crazy. Okay. If you could take the heat, obviously head chef Jeff would still be here. Head chef Heather would still be here. So I have no reason to change that, and I don't think Tyler, Ezekiel on this team, or Izzy are taking that role. Maybe Courtney would try, but no one else would want her to. She still take a charge. No one else would want that. I think Alejandro would suggest him take a charge, but he probably thinks Heather would be better at cooking because Alejandro showed no skills with cooking, especially with other foods that aren't his, so he would just be okay with it. Especially Noah, I don't think he's taking charge either. So they know Owen would try to eat the steak, so I think they're gonna put him with Alejandro just so he could stop that. The groups in this one are DJ and Bridget, Izzy, Ezekiel and Tyler, and Duncan and Courtney on dessert. This one would be Alejandro and Owen, just so he could make him stop. Gwen and Lindsay, Lashana, Noah, and Trent. I do think that the Killer Bass would win this competition just because Gwen and Lindsay probably still do not know how to flambe that cake, and Heather would not. She wouldn't do the same thing as last time. But again, they would need a perfect 10 points just so they could tie up the score. And just because, even though it wasn't flambéed, obviously it wouldn't be cooked, right? So it would be better than an ash pot, but it wouldn't be good enough to tie it up, and they would lose. I do remember that Sadie and Harold were together, and I knew these two made pasta and these two made custard. I don't know what I think they made, like, something with cheese. I think it was maybe, I'm just saying sandwiches, something related, even though it was something Italian, maybe a sausage, hot dog, something. It was Italian related. These guys were on ribs. Actually, no, they're on pineapples. These are on ribs, and obviously the flambe, the flambe cake. What was it called? I have no idea. But I do think Alejandro would go off to talk to Heather to try and get him on her side, or hit her on her side. And Owen would take that chance to eat the ribs, causing him to be eliminated. I think, this is a hot take, I do think Owen should have been eliminated in this episode instead of Beth. I'm surprised the bottom two were Heather and Beth. Like, that appalled me that they didn't blame Owen at all. He was the sole reason that ribs were just not good, because he ate the entire team with a little scab on the side. Who can you trust? I think this time will go by really fast. DJ and Duncan are first. Heather and Gwen. Heather and Gwen were already winning that one. Heather's not going to do the same thing because she's already done it before. Plus, she would have no reason to this time because they have no rival. They have a rivalry, but not as big as Island. So she would still beat DJ in terms of the climbing, causing 1 point to get them. The next one, the jellyfish jump. Harold's not here, So I do think Ezekiel's gonna do it. Um, and Noah and Lindsay, I would say will do it. I don't know why Heather went twice in this one. I think in this one, I do think Ezekiel could. I think Ezekiel could catch Bridget. Ezekiel is not weak by any means. Like, I know he got picked up by Eva, but that's Eva. He jumped off the cliff, did it fine, and picked up his crate. He was one of the first 3 to push the crate all the way to camp. So he's not weak. He's just kind of dumb. And I do think Lindsay would drop Noah. Because I know Ezekiel might be able to just mistime it, but I don't think he's as dumb as Lindsay to drop it, or as low of an IQ as I don't think Ezekiel is that dumb in terms of these two. I think he's smarter than Owen. I think he's smarter than Lindsay. I think he's smarter than Tyler. I think he's smarter than Sadie, Katie, like so on and so forth. I think he's smarter than Sierra. Maybe Sierra. Sierra's a hot take. But I think he can work it out. Next is the apples. LaShawna's throwing them. I do think that she would go with Alejandro just because they have beef since the last season. And Chris would try and replicate that by this challenge. I think Courtney would go with Duncan. And Duncan would obviously be throwing them. I think Duncan would get this point. I do think Duncan would get this point. Another challenge would be the pufferfish eating challenge. Trent and Lindsay versus Jeff and Bridget. I don't want Bridget to go again, and I don't want Lindsay to go again, but she kind of has to. So this one's going to be Bridget and Izzy, and Izzy's going to cook this time. I think the same thing's happening. Trent's going to cook this time, if that wasn't certain. So I think Trent, since he knows biology, stated by it, because he was really, when Lindsay said she took biology, I think he could do it. Izzy is definitely not doing it. I'm sorry. I don't think she's doing it. I think she's careless and getting Bridget knocked out for the entire challenge, causing the tiebreaker. So in the original, Chef and DJ went because they had the bunny beef, but I don't think they would go. I think Tyler and Duncan would go because they're beefing World Tour. And I think Alejandro and Heather would go. Out of these two, I do think that the Screaming Gophers would obviously win this competition. It's just Tyler would want to steer, and he would not be listening. He might think the left is the right and the right is the left, to be honest. And I think that is enough to get him eliminated. Just because he is just not trustworthy. He's bad with secrets. He wasn't on the Guys Alliance of 4. And he just didn't listen when Duncan was speaking, and it was a lot to take in. It was bad. He wasn't that good in competitions, especially like the Sucky Outdoors. He was just okay. He wasn't cooking well in the You Can't Take the Heat. He wasn't good in Dodgebrawl. He messed up in Not Quite Famous with his yo-yo performance. He didn't have a reason to keep him in the game. Basics training, I do think the same thing happens here. I do think that Duncan eggs on Chef. I do think he gets kicked out, but instead of Courtney obviously going to, I think Gwen would check on him. Just because they're dating, she wants to make sure she's okay. And since, and this is right afterward, Duncan's not doing that stupid thing in All Stars where he's thinking of Courtney. He just wants to he just wants Gwen. Alejandro's going to notice that, obviously, and tell the team that Gwen is still looking for Duncan. The last competition is Gwen, Alejandro, Heather, I would say, is hanging on the tree. And I do Duncan, Jeff, and Courtney. I think this is obviously the same. Duncan gets out first. I do think Heather would be out next, even though Owen's not there to mess it up. I do think she would be out next. Courtney would be out next after him. Alejandro would get out next, even though he's really flexible. Gonna be good, but Gwen is Gwen and could hang on there all day, and it's already shown that she could outlast Jeff in that, causing them to win the challenge. So this is a tough one. So I don't think they're friends, so they could come up with something. They want the biggest threat out. Who's strong, fast, and they already know they don't need IQ. They need someone that's strong out now. Out of the three, they're really hard options because Courtney's strong. Bridges by Duncan said she's really good at sports. Izzy is Izzy, which I do think would get her eliminated just because she's so psychotic. She's unpredictable. You don't know what she could do. In extreme torture is interesting because not only is the matchups here way different, it's like way different. Like the last challenge, Duncan versus Lindsay, would still happen the same. Harold's not here, but Heather would still drive. I do think Ezekiel would go. Going for the shower would be a long go. So one of the competitions were also the Lashana versus Jeff. But Jeff isn't showing her the tattoo anymore. So I do think Jeff could get the better advantage and hold on longer, causing this to and this would play out the same. This would play out the exact same. This would play the exact same. It wasn't even the marker that did it. Jeff was just Trent just did not pull out the parachute, and DJ did cause that to be easy. It comes down to this. Duncan, this would be the same, but I think honestly, I think Courtney would go instead of Ezekiel. No, let's say Ezekiel will go. I do think Ezekiel would lose. I think this is obvious. I think Ezekiel would lose. Jeff would side with Bridget in this vote. Duncan would side with DJ. And they do think that the best course of action is to eliminate Courtney. Just because she's really strong and really a bitch. She's a asshole. She's not going to have any allies. I'm sorry, Courtney fans, but it just doesn't make any sense to keep her. I know everyone's probably screaming at me like, why is Ezekiel still here? Why is Ezekiel here? But again, he's a part of the guys' alliance, and it just wouldn't make sense. Like, why would they boot him if he's a part of this big alliance that's just so effective? Why would they vote off their own guy when the merge is right around the corner? The bunch of discussing this is where teams are now irrelevant, but they need to send someone to the women team to even out the teams. And I do think that person would be Noah, just because, like in World Tour, they said an all-female team to Cody, and Noah is a part of Cody's length and width. So I would probably say, like, he's a woman, he's the weakest, I guess, just because they made that joke in World Tour so much with Cody. But Cody's not here, so I do think this would play out the exact same. Duncan, Ezekiel, and Jeff are definitely eating all of this. Okay, this is. I don't think any of them are effective in eating because, like, the thing the thing that is the. All comes down to the cockroach thing. I think they would still tie. I think Lashana's obviously here. There's something that would change. I do think Duncan would go up with her, and I do think he would win. Because not only did he make it, I'm going to say the second farthest, because Alejandro in that eating Chinese challenge in World Tour, because I would say he's the second best in that challenge because Alejandro was cheating and blatantly was cheating. So him and Sierra were just mad good at that challenge. And plus, he didn't lose because he wasn't eating it. He just lost because he was the last one to finish. I do think he was the best at eating though, and I also think he could beat Lashana. This is a non-elimination though, causing them to go on a vacation, causing them to go into the merge. No teams. So I do think instead of bringing back Eva and Izzy, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to bring back the person that was eliminated in that episode, because I do think that would be more interesting. Actually, okay, I'm going to bring back Eva just because of by popular demand, and I'm going to bring back who was eliminated in Up the Creek, aka Cody. Cody's back. So I do think this would be reasonable because she was back by popular demand, and I don't know why Izzy was back. So I'm just going to bring back whoever was eliminated in Izzy's episode, being Cody. So no pain, no gain. I think this plays out exactly the same. Nothing happens this episode. The Guys Alliance still is this big. I think Cody might join the Guys Alliance, but also no, because he doesn't like Duncan. So maybe that's a possibility. I do think Noah would join the Guys Alliance, though. The alliance right now that Alejandro would probably make is with Lindsay, not like official alliance, because he doesn't want to make them like talked about alliances. It was with Lindsay, Heather, and I think he can possibly get Trent, just because of the fact that Trent doesn't know him. I know I've used that excuse a lot, but like I just feel like it makes sense. But I think this plays out the same. Lashana wins immunity, and Eva is gone. Search and do not destroy. This is interesting because originally Trent was eliminated solely because of the kiss with Heather. But Heather would not kiss Trent if that's not obvious. And I know she's not kissing Duncan again. Heather wins this in the original, but this cast is bigger. So I'm going to do the only thing I can do is randomize the keys. So I randomized the keys, and funny enough, Alejandro got Heather's key. This is meaning Alejandro wins immunity. That is of severe plot armor. I do think that they would want some challenge beasts out now. So I think the Guys Alliance, they won't tell Jeff this. DJ, Noah, and Ezekiel come together and say the best course of action is to eliminate Bridget. I do think that they could get Alejandro on this because she really doesn't like Alejandro. 5 votes already against her. I think Gwen, Lashana, Bridget, and Trent would vote Heather. But Cody would definitely not vote Heather. And I think that Duncan would tell Jeff to like, oh, we're voting out Heather, so vote off Heather. So it's already a 5-5 vote. But I do think he can, since they have so many numbers, I do think they can convince Cody to eliminate Bridget. And Lindsay would be with Alejandro, causing it to be a 7-5 vote. And obviously, Heather would not vote herself. She's voting whoever, but it doesn't matter who she votes because Bridget is eliminated. It makes Jeff go into shock. Jeff doesn't know because he thinks everyone on his alliance voted for Heather. So he assumes every one of these people voted Bridget, causing him to be really confused because he doesn't know they got Alejandro, Cody, and Lindsay to vote for Bridget. So he is confused. But Duncan knows what needs to be done. So this alliance is already going strong, but Ezekiel says something very stupid to Gwen. making her realize that there's a guys' alliance. So she allies with Lashana and Heather and Lindsay to make a girls' alliance. There's so many guys, so they've been overwhelmed. In this challenge, hide and be sneaky, I think Duncan wins immunity here. Actually, no, Lashana's still here. Lashana wins immunity just like the original. I would say that's the best course of action, and Heather wins immunity as well, and she gets everyone else on her side. Heather and Gwen can catch Duncan or not Duncan. I think Heather finds Ezekiel or Cody, and Gwen and Lindsay, let's say, find DJ and Trent. They're on the roof, and they find them. So all the girls are immune. I think Duncan is also immune this time, because I know he was picked out almost last, but I don't think he would hide in the cave, and I think he could find someone. I think he would try and be finding someone to win immunity, causing him to be safe. So DJ, Trent, Noah, Ezekiel, Cody. I think Alejandro would find someone. Actually, I do think it would be the other way around. I think Duncan actually would still hide in the cave, and Alejandro would still find someone. So it's up to these guys. I think just to weaken the guys' alliance, all of them unanimously agree that Duncan, DJ, Jeff has to go. Gwen convinces Lashana not to vote Duncan because she loves Duncan and Duncan is her boyfriend. And I don't think they would vote DJ because he's DJ. He's so nice. Everyone loves DJ. I don't think DJ's been voted off before. He's lost because he's quit and lost in the World Tour in action, and he's lost because of a purge in Island. He's never been voted off before. So I do think Jeff would be eliminated. Just because everyone likes him. He's a big threat. He's strong. He's not the smartest, but he's strong, and that's what's most important right now. Okay, this is different. Because Heather is definitely not going to have Lindsay build a bike for her because no one likes her. Out of everyone here, Trent said he wants to build a motorcycle shop. I think he would put Duncan, Trent, Heather, because I think she'll build her bike herself, Alejandro, and I think that's it in the finale of this race, causing it to be real as a purge. I think Duncan crosses the finish line first here. I think Heather and Alejandro wipe out. I don't think Alejandro wipes out. I think he passes second. But Heather wipes out by technicalities causing Trent to be eliminated. That might not seem like the best course of action, but I just think it makes sense because Lashana is not crossing the finish line, but with her bike's not crossing the finish line because she didn't even get to build a bike. I doubt she can make one. I don't think Cody can make a good bike. I don't think Ezekiel can make a good bike. I don't think Noah can make a good bike. Maybe Noah can make a good bike, but I don't think he can. Gwen's bike didn't cross the finish line. Lindsay's bike didn't cross Lindsay's bike did cross the finish line actually, so I do think she would be in here. But she's really good at riding a bike. I think she would cross, arguably before Alejandro, but I doubt it. DJ's bike didn't cross. So I do think Trent would be eliminated. So the guys' alliance is down to 3. And Alejandro is with Heather and Lindsay. Lindsay is more dragging over to Gwen now. And obviously Gwen and Duncan are in their alliance, but everyone knows that. I do think Hook, Line, and Screamer obviously ends the exact same as the original, eliminating DJ. Sadly, because of the, what's it called? The irony of it all. Okay, I'm going to do something a bit different today on this week. I say that this week is a double elimination. just solely because of the fact that we have so many contestants. Someone's got to go. So Gwen, I don't know why this was in the show. She won the challenge, so I'm saying she wins the challenge now. I don't know how she was in the bottom two. She won. Wins the challenge again because she gets a duck. Duncan comes second. I would say Alejandro gets third. So I would say the bottom two, I would say since these guys are all voting together, the bottom two would be Cody and Noah. I think Alejandro and Heather are voting out, or can get Lindsay. Just she's not swayed away fully yet, but they can get her to vote off Noah, and Noah votes off Alejandro. Him and Cody vote off Alejandro, causing it to be a 4-3-2 vote, causing Cody and Noah to be eliminated and Marwanaka ground wired. And I do say that the tri-arm triathlon, but we're not finished here. I do think Chris would do something never before, just because we have so many people, and it would mess up the game. I do think there is a third elimination, but I don't think it would be Alejandro. I think everyone's voting again. And I do think, sadly, I do think Duncan, Ezekiel are voting off Alejandro, but I do think Heather can get Gwen and Lashana, and the same with Alejandro and with Heather, to vote off Ezekiel. He's just socially awkward, and he doesn't have any allies. The trial by arm triathlon. I think this one's easy. Everyone's armed with someone they don't like. Lashana doesn't like Duncan. Gwen was fine with her, but she didn't really like Lindsay, I would say. Heather and Alejandro. So I think they win. They obviously win the same competition they did, and I think these two would win the last one. But here's where it gets interesting. I do think Duncan and Lashana win invincibility, because they were so close on the eating one, and Alejandro was definitely not eating that food, because he is very a picky eater, and I don't think Lindsay or Gwen are eating it any faster. So, and they were really close to winning. So I do think they would win immunity here. Gwen, Lashana, and Duncan are on a team. And I do think that Alejandro and Heather know that they're on the chopping block, so they would make a deal with Duncan to vote off Lindsay. And I do think these two would vote off Heather, and I do think Lindsay would vote off Heather with them, causing a tiebreaker, but I just don't see any universe where Lindsay beats Heather in anything, causing Lindsay to be eliminated. This is a very interesting situation, because I think the exact same thing would happen. I do believe that everyone would say Lashana. I know that's stupid and corny, and no one's going to like that in the comments, but I just think it would happen, just because of the cast being the cast and the way they happened last time. Like, everyone was like, stop saying Lashana. Obviously not wanting Lashana gone. They would probably vote off Alejandro or Heather, maybe even Duncan, but like, it just wouldn't make sense. Because like how they randomly stop saying Lashana when they're trying to get people to stop saying Lashana without saying Lashana. Like, again, are we there, Yeti? So this is a very interesting one. I do think that this would be hear me out. I think Duncan and Alejandro are winning this, solely because Alejandro is a way better teammate to have than Owen. But the only reason Duncan and Owen lost is because of Owen. Owen got there first, but he hit the brownies instead of the totem pole, causing them to lose, getting Duncan eliminated. But since Alejandro and Duncan are here, I do think Alejandro would not obviously be distracted by the brownies, and he would be able to touch the podium, causing him to get immunity. Eliminating, this would be almost unanimous. Heather. Final three. This is interesting, because they have no one they want to target. And I don't think Duncan is as daring as Owen to have that many things. He would obviously maybe split them with Gwen, but I don't think that would change anything. I think Alejandro can tank half these. So I think what would happen is Gwen tries to do something but fails. It's not that she couldn't, like, she didn't stick it out. She just failed at doing it. Duncan didn't have it. I doubt Duncan would have collecting a bunch of freebies, and same with Alejandro. I don't think these guys can collect freebies. I know when they do the dare, they get the freebie, but I don't think she would just always be using it. And the freebies are just so, like, annoying to get, because you have to do it perfectly. So I do think Gwen would be eliminated. This is the finale. So I think this just makes sense. So I should have, yes, I know I should have eliminated someone right here to cause this not to be a triple elimination, but I think it's fine. I think it's great. So I think I'm happy with this. I think this finale just makes sense. The guys' alliance would be obviously really stronger now, but I do think that some characters maybe should have been eliminated before, and some characters should have made it faster, or not faster, farther. I will be making a sequel to this. If you guys want to see the Total Drama Island Season 4 special, maybe turn it into action with the 14 competitors, let me know down below, and I will get working right on that. So I'll see you guys later. Comment for more, like the video, subscribe. Love you all. Have a good one.